A long time before I became cool. This is my boss, Lenny Hershend. It seems like Clint Eastwood has seen it all in his famous life, but then tragedy hits again. He was in a lot of fights on and off the screen, but he was known for playing tough guys in classic movies. On the other hand, nothing could have prepared him for the terrible death of his longtime girlfriend Christina Sandera, who was only 61 years old. What caused her death so soon? How is Clint, who is 94 years old, dealing with this terrible loss? This video goes into the emotional details of Sandera's death, looks at their friendship, and shows how Eastwood's strength continues to inspire people. Do not leave now, because this story will stun you. Clint Eastwood's childhood and the start of his work. There was a beautiful city in California called San Francisco where Clint Eastwood was born on May 31st, 1930. During the hard times of the Great Depression. When he was young, he moved around a lot because his dad, Clint Eastwood Sr., had to move the family from place to place because he was between jobs. Still, Eastwood found comfort in music, especially jazz. He learned to play the piano for jazz without any official training. He became interested in art at a young age, which helped him when he played in bars in Oakland, to make ends meet while he was going through the changes that come with being a teenager. Eastwood didn't become an actor like people thought he would. Before he joined the U.S. military, he went to Los Angeles City College for a short time after high school. During the Korean War, he was in the Army. He went back home with a new determination to become an actor, and in 1954, he signed a deal with Universal Pictures. It really took a long time in my life. We're very happy with each other. However, most of his early parts were not very important, and his career took a hit when Universal dropped him after only a couple of movies. But it didn't work out because Eastwood wasn't giving up on finding better work in Hollywood. When Eastwood was young, he got his first big part as Rowdy Yates in the popular TV show Rawhide in 1959. His rugged good looks were brought out in this part, which helped him get more fans. From its first season to its 8th, Rawhide made history in television history, and most importantly, I've lived the American dream. I've been lucky enough to do well at it, giving people the experience they need to get into the movie business. During those years, he kept getting better. But soon, an Italian director named Sergio Leone would change his life. Eighth Woodrow played a part in Sergio Leone's 1964 movie A Fistful of Dollars, the first in what is called the Dollar series. Eastwood became famous and successful in this spaghetti western because he was cast as the gunman who couldn't speak. This is still the most famous part in the history of movies. The huge popularity of these film classes not only helped Clint Eastwood's career, but they also changed the Western film genre, making way for the career of his rival, the Hollywood star. But Clint Eastwood wasn't always the rough, famous person we know him to be. His life had many unexpected turns that would eventually make him a Hollywood star. The rise to fame and transformation of Clint Eastwood, part of his meteoric rise to fame, can be traced back to his lead part in Sergio Leone's 1964 film, A Fistful of Dollars. The movie changed the style and look of Western movies and made Eastwood, a skilled shooter, into the mysterious man with no name. Many people around the world liked this one-of-a-kind mix of a mean character and the director's brilliance. This changed the Western hero, and Clint went from being a TV character to an international film star very quickly. Lion wrote 3 westerns called Dollars. The first was A Fistful of Dollars, and the other 2 were For a Few Dollars More, 1965, and The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly, 1966, adding to his fame. Thanks to the success of the Dollar series, Eastwood's career took off, and he quickly became a sought-after actor in Hollywood. He was in 2 movies in 1968, Hang Aim High and Coogan's Bluff. Both of them used his tough and rough look. His role as Dirty Harry Callahan in Dirty Harry 1971, on the other hand, made Eastwood a different kind of celebrity. Don Siegel directed the movie in which Eastwood plays a police officer who is not afraid to use extreme violence to fight crime, which was true to the political and social climate of the time. Eastwood is shown as even more of a tough, rebellious, and masculine figure. In addition to starring, Eastwood was already beginning to direct, which was something he had been doing behind the scenes for a while. In 1971, he directed his first movie, Play Misty for Me, a psychological drama that also showed how creative he could be as a director. Even though it got mixed reviews, it was the start of his dual interest as both an actor and a director of films in which he appeared. Being able to play both parts would be one of the most important skills Eastwood would need in his career, giving him more power over the stories he wants to tell. Through the 1980s, Eastwood already established himself as a major figure in Hollywood. His roles in the shackling drama Escape from Alcatraz 1979 and the action comedy Bronco, Billy 1980 showed how flexible he was. With the 1982 movie Honky Tonk Man, he took a big step forward as a director. Even though Eastwood was always a tough guy and was slowly building his career as a director, the TV cowboy turned into an actor who paved the way for future Oscar-winning movies. His private life, a journey through love and loss. There are as many interesting things that happen in Clint Eastwood's life outside of work as there are in his many years of unmatched success in the movie business. After getting married to Maggie Johnson for the first time in 1953, he fell in love for the first time as an adult. Their marriage, which lasted more than 30 years, was good, but there were times when things got tough. While they were together, they were very close in the beginning, but as Eastwood became more famous, his many affairs started to cause problems for his wife. Eastwood had 2 kids with Johnson. Their names were Kyle and Allison. While also having a daughter together before they got married, Lori Murray, they finally couldn't handle the stress that was put on their marriage any longer, so they got a divorce in 1984 and are no longer married. Eastwood's relationship with actress Sandra Locke is one of his most well-known and, at the same time, least happy. They met in 1975 when Eastwood was making a movie about the bad guy Josie Wales, and almost right away became a thing, both individually and professionally. They were together for 14 years and had a young, passionate, and angry relationship. During that time, Locke was in several of Eastwood's movies, such as The Gauntlet and Bronco Billy. Unfortunately, things took a bad turn for the lovers in 1989 when they broke up, and not in a nice way. Not long after that, she sued Clint Eastwood, which made the news because he was accused of being dishonest and abusing her feelings. This court battle went on for a long time, which made Eastwood's love life even more complicated and added another layer of drama. Even though the fight with Eastwood made things messy at work, he continued to do well in his job. The success of Locke, on the other hand, did not do well after they broke up. Though Locke was with him, Eastwood had a connection with flight attendant Jocelyn Reeves. He had 2 more children with her, Scott and Catherine Eastwood. The public didn't see much of this connection because Eastwood worked hard to keep his relationships a secret, especially during the Locke scandal. But Reeves was the kids' only parent for most of their early years. As they got older, Scott and Catherine found their own places in the entertainment business. Scott became a famous actor, just like his father did. Because of this, I don't think he likes me in his movies. But in the late 1990s, Eastwood fell in love with another woman, news anchor Dina Ruiz. It was 1992 when they met and 2004 when they got married. During that same year, their daughter Morgan Eastwood was also born. For almost 20 years, it looked like they would never break up. Dina was even on Mrs. Eastwood and Company, a reality show about a family which ran in 2012, but because he wasn't committed to his marriage over the long term, it ended. In 2013, Ruiz granted the divorce because the couple could no longer live together. Even though Eastwood and Dinah's marriage ended, they were still friendly and put the health of their child Morgan first. Christina Sandera worked as a hostess in a restaurant and Eastwood met her in the last few years of his job. They started dating. Even though they had a reason for being together, they both kept it quiet, which was great for him since he was getting older. Instead of showing off, they took it easy and lived a normal life in Carmel, California, where they lived together. As luck would have it, Sandera died in 2024 from heart problems, leaving Eastwood to deal with yet another loss in his own life. Eastwood stuck with it and was able to get through many of his personal problems, even though he loved and lost people very much. He kept making movies and taking care of his large family, which made it harder for him to get along with some people. In the last few years of his work, Eastwood found comfort and friendship in Christina Sandera, a hostess he met in 2014. When they were asked to marry each other, they had to be quiet, which was good for him as he got older. West Hollywood relationships had been rocky in the past, but Eastwood seemed to find peace with Sandera, who wasn't from that agent and purposely avoided the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. Along with taking day trips and doing fun things in and around Carmel, the two were often seen. This kept their romance out of the public eye, where it was growing, so the couple was seen together for the very first time ever at the 2015 awards show, which Clint had gone to because his movie American Sniper was up for Best Picture. People thought that her look that day meant that their relationship was getting serious. As Eastwood's fan, she did start going with him on a number of important events in his life. Even though Sandera was dating one of Hollywood's biggest stars, she liked to keep to herself and loved the benefits of social media. She didn't post about her activities on these sites and kept her private life from the public. Eastwood's time with Sandera seemed to be more stable and peaceful than many of his other relationships. They chose to spend their time in Carmel, where Eastwood had lived for a long time, away from the busy life of Hollywood. It looked like Sandera's relationship with Eastwood's family was also good, as she went to a number of family parties and gatherings with him, which suggested she had become an important part of his life. Sad to say, this peaceful episode came to an abrupt end when Christina Sandera died of heart problems at the age of 61 in 2024. Sandera's death was a terrible blow to Eastwood, who spoke out about his sadness and praised Sandera's caring nature. Eastwood lost an important friendship in his later years because of her death, which had a big effect on his personal life. As their friendship grew, Christina Sandera became a strong but quiet part of Eastwood's life, going to work on a soundstage, which will surprise you is what made her so different from his other famous girlfriends. Behind the scenes, Sandera lives a quiet life. Christina Sandera was able to escape the rich and opulent life that people often associate with Clint Eastwood's world by living a quiet life. Before she got involved with Eastwood, Sandera worked as a waitress at Eastwood's Mission Ranch Hotel in Carmel, California, which is on the coast and where Clint also lived. Still, she was one of the good people even after dating Clint Eastwood, who was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. Still, she was a very important supporting character who made sure that Eastwood got all the attention while she stayed out of the way. She didn't use the internet and liked to live a quiet life, spending most of her time with Eastwood at his home in Carmel or at family meals with close friends and family. People who knew Sandera knew that she was humble and didn't put on a show. She liked simple things like taking care of her horses and the quiet places in Carmel more than the busy life of Hollywood theater. Because she was grounded, she loved animal care and activism, and she worked with marine and equestrian charities. Sandy was always herself, even when she was dating a famous man. She didn't want to be the center of attention. She thought it was her job to stay out of the tabloids' prying eyes and build a good life with Eastwood without the media getting in the way. Her calm personality gave Eastwood a break and a sense of normalcy, and the two of them shared a quiet, serious break in the otherwise crazy life of the matinee idol. Job of Clint Eastwood. Even though he has had many personal losses, Clint Eastwood's job has been very busy and active, even though he has had many personal losses. Eastwood is 90 years old, but he is still directing, producing, and acting in movies. He doesn't seem to be planning to stop anytime soon. Thanks to his dedication to movies, he has been able to make a living in the business, even though he is always busy due to relationship issues, deaths, and most recently, the death of his longtime girlfriend Christina Sandera in 2024. Instead of going back into hiding, Eastwood has put this energy into his work as a writer, which he has done with great skill, even though he is old and has lost loved ones. As of 2023, filming for Juror Number 2, one of his newest projects, had already started. This makes him even busier than usual as a filmmaker. Eastwood has strong work ethics because he can deal with a terrible loss while still focusing on his job. Throughout his career, he has been very good at keeping work and home life separate. Because of this, the inspiration never stops, even when people are having personal problems. Without a question, this approach to work has earned him a lot of respect in the movie business, where he pushes the limits of what an older person can do in making movies. Eastwood has been successful throughout his work, which shows how he has been able to deal with a wide range of topics. Eastwood has changed a lot as an actor and as a director. He has directed Oscar-winning movies like Mystic River and $1 Million Baby, as well as other more recent projects. Because he works in different types of movies, like westerns, war movies, and even thrillers, he can keep his job going even when he is going through personal problems. Clint Eastwood is still a huge fan of movies, even as his business grows, which gives you direction when you're sad because someone you loved has died. His ability to deal with problems and never-ending desire to make movies mean that his achievements will always have a place in the history of Hollywood. Why Sandra died so tragically. Christina Sandera died at the age of 61 from a heart attack caused by cardiac arrhythmia. The arrhythmia was caused by atherosclerotic coronary artery disease, a condition in which plaque builds up in the vessels and makes them hard. Based on death records from the Monterey County Health Department, these conditions are what caused the death. Most heart arrhythmias are harmless, but some can be life-threatening if they get really bad and aren't treated. Coronary artery disease made things more difficult for Sandera, which led to the heart attack that killed her. People often call this disease the silent slayer because it doesn't show any symptoms for years. This makes it hard to lower the risk without screening people all the time. The news was a terrible blow to her family and friends, who knew that not much had been said about her health in public. Given all the glitz and glitter that Hollywood had to offer, Sandera had pretty much kept to herself. But she was in favor of a number of neighborhood charitable activities. She served on the board of the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary Foundation, which later gave her a testimonial to thank her for her work to protect wildlife and animal rights. She was married to Clint Eastwood and was very interested in many causes. She will be remembered for both of these things. Clint Eastwood wrote a moving tribute to her after she died. In it, he talked about how sad he was to lose such a great partner and friend who had brought so much love and happiness into his life. Eastwood had to have better times ahead since they had been together for 10 years before she died. Eastwood has decided to deal with the death of his partner by putting all of his energy into work. Because he lost a partner he had been with for a long time, He has put all of himself into his work, just like he would into making movies, to help him deal with his grief. There are both public and private parts to Clint Eastwood's grief after the sudden death of Christina Sandera. He has had to deal with the difficult job of mourning, which is both private and public parts. Of course, Eastwood has always been private about his relationships, if not unfriendly to rumors about them. That's why it was a surprise when he talked about his sadness. He made Sandera look like a sweet, loving woman, which showed how much she meant to Eastwood and how much her death hurt him. Eastwood didn't let the work he put into his job stop. Even though Sandera had died only a few weeks before, he was still busy directing Juror Number 2. This shows that his love for movies was stronger than anything else. He gave E! A good report through his son, Scott Eastwood. News and reassured fans that Clint is okay and that his family is doing well. Clint had a big loss. The things Scott said showed that the Eastwood family depended on each other for support during a tough time. The fact that Eastwood can keep working even though he's been through a lot of bad things in his life shows how much he values hard work and commitment. Although he has had many happy and successful years, he has also had some hard times and setbacks. For example, his marriage didn't work out and his family had some issues, but he has always been able to keep going with his work. He spends his time and energy now making movies, which I think not only helps him get over things but also keeps her grounded in her love, even though Sandera is dead. Away from the cameras, though, Eastwood seems to find comfort in being with his close family, children, and trusted friends who are all there for him during this very hard time. A small group of people know that Eastwood is friends with, so that he can grieve in peace while still making sure that Sandera's memory lives on through his work, and in real life, he has turned his attention to these people. Even though he is sad, Clint Eastwood's ability to manage his long-lasting fame, his close-knit family, and his unwavering love for movies shows how strong he really is. Finding the right balance between his fame and being a dad may be the hardest thing in Clint Eastwood's life. And love for movies. For all of his years in Hollywood, Eastwood has been one of the most recognized faces. He has also started and raised a large, mixed family. Also, Eastwood has always been the center of media attention, but he has always been able to keep his private life separate. He even raised his kids in a quiet place like Carmel, California, away from the chaos of Los Angeles. Taking care of such a big and difficult family is likely one of Eastwood's less well-known legacies. Even though he has 8 kids from different relationships, he makes it his goal to keep his family pure. Most of his current and former partners have said that he is always there for his kids and involved as a dad. He has been with his kids and taught them the values of hard work and independence. Families have been important to the kids even though their dad is famous. This has kept them in charge, if not comfortable. Eastwood has always done well when he's been in charge of movies. He has been a director for more than 60 years and has won 2 Oscars for Best Director. In every movie he has made, he has stayed original. He didn't try to avoid or change the changes that came with time. This may be what made him a hero in show business. The movies he's been in and directed have helped him share his ideas about storytelling not just as a filmmaker, but as an artist whose work appealed to people of all ages. Finally, Clint Eastwood's impact will be how he balanced the things that could have been distracting: fame, family, and movies. He was still a big name in the movie business, even though he was in his 90s. Taking care of his responsibilities, staying close to his family, and staying in his city. He has done something that many directors haven't been able to do. He has had one of the most admired and longest-lasting careers in show business. What is Eastwood going to do next? It is amazing that Clint Eastwood is still working hard after turning 90 years old. You could also guess this would happen since he was just finishing up work on his most recent project. The movie Juror Number 2 began filming in 2023. Nicholas Hoult and Toni Collette star in the thriller, which Eastwood manages to adapt to modern times while still telling stories in his own unique way. This is yet another movie that shows how good the director is at handling complicated plots. It's about a judge who is going through a tough crisis of conscience during a murder trial. Another question that will always be asked is what Eastwood will do after the second judge. When you look at his age, it might seem like he should be retired, but the facts show that he is not. He's always said that telling stories is what keeps him going. You can still expect more work from him in the future, both behind and in front of the camera. This is because he has a unique way of doing things at work that always drives him to make new content. He wants to keep working as a director, which means he has more stories to tell in his already long career. Because most things are made for people who like movement. For Eastwood, the fact that he can now stay with his family in Carmel, California may bring him some comfort. He has always been going back to them to get away from the bright lights of Hollywood. This may mean that the death of his beloved partner, Christina Sandera, makes him want to think more deeply about his life. Most likely, though, making movies and being with his family will always be the 2 most important things in his life. Having a close relationship with his children and having them be a part of this time in his life also helps him deal with his grief. Clint Eastwood's final love for movies is the foundation for everything that comes next for him as a person. It doesn't matter if he keeps working hard or decides to slow down, he has already earned his place in the realm. Fans and professionals alike will be interested in how this famous person gets ahead in his job. Even though Christina Sandera has died, it's clear that Clint's influence will live on. What do you think about Eastwood's story, on and off the screen? Just write your thoughts in the box below. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you liked it. We have more in-depth stories about your favorite celebs. To make sure you never miss a message from us, click that bell. Also, please watch the next video on the screen before you leave. I'm sure you won't want to miss it. We'll see you next time.